Hi Flash Tube, it's Diane. Today is March 25th, 2023. I know it's been a little while. We had a really bad cold go through, and so I kept losing my voice on and off. Not a time to film. So hopefully I won't have any kind of coughing fit or anything. It's just no fever, no stomach thing, just this cough that just doesn't want to go away. But I thought I'd do an update. I want to use this area, so I got to clean it. So where should we start? We'll start with this. I have a finish. This is by Scattered Seed, not plural, Samplers, called Gathering Together Pin Keep. Now the flowers look blue, but they're actually a blue-gray, but I changed them. I changed them to a red, and I really like the result. This is 40 count platinum. Yeah, platinum. 1 strand over 2 threads using all DMC colors. The flower, I think, is supposed to be 414. I changed it to DMC 221, and I like how it turned out. So it didn't take too long to stitch him up. And I might even stitch him again. I don't know. It was pretty fun. Her patterns, that's the first pattern of hers I've stitched. If you've not stitched her patterns before, they're very easy to read. Her symbols are very clear, and her use of color is amazing. I'm looking at some of her other designs to add to my collection. What have I stitched? I stitched on, for Whitgo March, Rosewood Manor was pulled on my Whitgo board. And so I pulled this guy out. I moved the thread, I'm sorry. I do leave my needles in. I know some people where you live, the humidity, but this is Minnesota, we tend to be pretty dry most of the year. Oh Feathers by Rosewood Manor. This is 36 count. 36 count. It's a gray. Oh, here it is. Pearl gray. I am using the called for threads. And here is where it is at now. So this circle is completely done. It was mostly done before, but I completely finished it. I added all the black, these kind of tufts. I think I had one of these mostly done, but this one's completely finished, this particular one. And then I started adding all of these, and I had started a little bit on this guy, but I finished it. So it has 5 of these big medallions. So 1, 2, 3. So I have to do 4 and 5. And then I had most of this done already, but I've just added a few colors and picked up some things. I went with my husband to his infusion, and they have a really nice room, a lot of natural light. So I brought this, and I am using the called for Sulky colors. It's my first time using the Sulkies. They're interesting. They are interesting. And the colors are amazing. They're very rich. So again, that's Rosewood Manor, Oh Feathers. And we've done that for Whitgo, March. Also worked on I don't have this is the wrong bag. I grabbed the wrong bag. Hold, please. Okay, so I grabbed this bag, but I needed this bag, so it's obvious why I mixed them up. This is the Day by Plum Street Samplers. I pulled this out. I didn't stitch on it too much, but it is on 40 count Flax, And here is where I'm at. So I'm still working on the house. So I finished the roof and I've been working on the mortar, so it's hard to see. I had all the bricks done, I had the door done, and I started filling in a couple of the windows. So there's progress, but it's harder to, it's not significant at this point. I am not necessarily using the call for colors. If I had them, I'm using them. 1 over 2 threads. If I didn't, I went through particularly the overdyes and just found something similar. And I was inspired to pick this one back up because at market, this is part of my haul, this I know. She said that on her Instagram post about this, that this was a companion piece to that one. So I was able to go to Stitchville last weekend and I picked it up. And I also picked up another 40 count flax to stitch it on since they're companion pieces, same colors. The one thing on here is she has you coffee dye some of the DMCs. Not sure if I'm going to do that. I'm toying with the idea. I mean, I have some of the overdyes that are called for. I'm toying with the idea of pulling those DMCs and looking through my overdyed collection and finding something close to the DMC, because I think I understand why she'd want you to do that kind of antique-y look. But you know, if I'm not going to use the entire skein, then I have a whole skein that's coffee tea dyed. That what else am I going to use it on? That's my thinking. Maybe it's wrong, but I was thinking I'd pull those DMCs that are called for and then find an overdyed that's close. And oh, that one I don't need anyway. Or I should say that's secret stitching. I also picked up Market. Well, yeah. The Fragments in Time 2023 from Summer House Stitchworks. Let's see, this one. This one is number 2 and this one is number 1. I will be making these into Christmas ornaments for my family. There will be 8 altogether. So I gotta start working on them, but I pulled out my 2022s, which obviously I missed the deadline. I have 8 of them done, but I'm restitching them. So here is number 1, and that one is almost done. There are 2 more colors that I need to add in. I would show you the finished one, but it's rolled up here in the Q-snap, so it's not easy to get to at this point. This is 40 count Woodland Brown. I'm using 1 strand over 2 threads of the called for. And then these stitch up really quickly, and I just kind of needed a palette cleanser, which you'll see why in a moment. And these stitching up really quickly, so if I get these done, I could have them made, and then my kids will pick which one they want for their ornament. And I'm going to go back through all of them. I'm going to insert the year somewhere, just say 2022. And then on the 2023s, which I think I have a piece of fabric for them, I'm going to stitch those on flax or raw. I have both in here. I'm going to use one of them. I think it'll work really nicely with the colors, the Berlin colors, which I have most of them. There's one I'm missing, or 2. But other than that, I'm going to stitch them in the called for colors, the overdyes. I had, oh, wait a minute. That one, I did not look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of the colors across these 2 patterns are the same, but this one has 2 more than this one does, and this one has 1 that this one does not have. Okay, usually she tries to keep all the colors across all 8. I did not notice that, so I got to see if I have that one. I think I do. But there's a week Styworks. And I'm just going to use ecru for eggshell. That'll be fine. But the Weeks Dye Works, I think that's a green. And greens on overdyes, those are ones that I do like to invest in, greens and reds, because you can usually see a variegation in them. But I do not have all of the Fragments in Time from all of the years, but I have a number of the years. And that's the one I have been working on the most. So I became obsessed to finish Persephone by Mirabilia. She is she's formerly known, I should say, as my oldest whip. I started her in 2013, finished her in 2023. She's on 32 count. Lugana, Vintage Antique Fields. It is a dyed fabric, but I don't know who dyed it. And here she is in all of her beads. Oh my word. I ran out of beads. This color, which is 62038, if you're stitching her, you might want 2 packages. You might. I know I've used that package in a previous design, but I didn't use that many. But I ran out. And then 525, you might run out. I don't know. 02010, I ran out, but I use that in a lot of my patterns. So to be honest, that didn't surprise me. But those are the ice ones, the clear ones that are all used up here. They're used somewhat in here. They're used in just the garlands. And I think it was Dee's Stitcher, when she stitched this a number of years ago, she shared that the bugle beads that are called for in this design, which are 82023, did not fit very well in 32 count. They might fit really well in 28, but this is 32. Mill Hill makes the 82023 is a large bugle bead. Mill Hill also makes a small bugle bead in the same color. So I switched out the bugle beads, which are here, these long beads. And they're in the garlands mostly, and up here on her necklace. I switched those out to 72023, so they're the small bugle beads, and they fit perfectly. So if you're on 28 count with this particular piece, the 82,000 might be just fine. But if you're on 32 count, I would encourage the 72,000 rather than the 82,000. So I'm going to go in. So you can see I didn't like the wallpaper, so I just left the wallpaper off. I don't think she needs it. But a lot of beads up in here. No beads over here, but on her necklace and part of the top of her dress. And these floral garlands that are all over. Lots of beads. And then obviously in her gown. I will say these garlands, confetti. If you watched my beading video, sorry, I don't remember the number off the top of my head. I should have looked it up. I talked about how I bead with just a half stitch. I do that for size 11 beads and size 15. Oh, you stupid thing. And size 15 beads. But on the larger beads, I'm trying to find which video I specifically talked about beading. Oh, number 164. So it says cross stitch number 164. It's just beading videos. That's my beading video. On these larger beads here, which on this design is 16609. I wish I would have chose 18609, because these are, I believe, size 8 beads. They're pebble beads. And the ones that begin with 18,000 in the Mill Hill are, yeah, I'm getting my hair cut this week. It's driving me nuts. These wing things that my hair wants to do. I could get them in the same color, but they'd be a little bit smaller bead. So I think this is size 8 and the 18,000 is a size 10. I mean, it would still give the dimension, but I don't like these as much on my stitching. But with those and with the bugle beads, I did a complete X rather than just the half X. And if you watch that video number 164, that will make sense. That will make sense what I'm talking about. But yeah, I use Nymo thread, which I like the Nymo, and a beading needle. And Mill Hills can be a little irregular every once in a while, so sometimes you have to throw a bead away because it won't go through your beading needle. But yeah, she is done. 10 years in the making. Now, oh, I should have brought it in here. My oldest whip now is also a Mirabilia. Surprise, surprise. Cassiopeia or Cassiopeia. I've heard it pronounced both ways. I don't know if either one is correct, but actually I need to set her over here so I can hang her up. I hang my finished pieces. I just get like a pants hanger. I've never had bleeding go between the fabrics. I am careful on how many I put on there and where they're at. It tends to be very climate controlled. So if it was really humid right there, I'd really worry about the fabric or the threads blending into each other. That being said, my next one is Cassiopeia or Cassiopeia by Mirabilia. It's for my eldest daughter, and at some point I'll pick her up and work on her. So I do like to try and knock out my oldest whip over a year. Some years I've succeeded, other years I haven't, because she's been hanging around for a while. But I had a couple, when I started the Floss Tube, I had a couple that were older than her, and I did finish those. So let's talk market haul, because yes, I did shopping. Also, I was able to have a friend whose birthday is in March, and so several of us got together and I ordered market stuff for her, so it was fun kitting that up for her, and I sent it off this week, so she'll get it and I'm sure she'll really enjoy it. Before market, I bought Hera by Mirabilia. I did not have this one in my collection, and we were reading Percy Jackson series, actually the second series, the Heroes of Olympus series, and we finished that up, and Hera is the main she's kind of a villainess in that book, but kind of not. It's an interesting series to read. But from market, I purchased, besides This I Know and the Fragments in Time for myself, I purchased Sting Like a Butterfly, or sorry, Float Like a Butterfly, Sting Like a Bee. A quote from Muhammad Ali, which I can't remember if that was a quote I should have looked up the history. I remember him, videos of him saying it. And these are kitted, or excuse me, both of these charted for DMC. So that's how I'm going to stitch them. And I just really liked both of them. So those, and then this one, United We Stand by Blackbird. I love this. And this one is really nice too. This was United We Stand, and this one I think is called Floating Stars. Make sure I'm saying that correct. And then there's this little scissor pocket. Clustered Stars, excuse me. It's called Clustered Stars. And then you have United We Stand pincushion, and you have a scissor keep. Does that have a special name? Join hand in hand. Scissor keep. I love it. It has an eagle right there. And a bird up here, but it's not necessarily an eagle. But you have an eagle right here. So, yeah. And then this one, Works by ABC, Exquisite Lace. I like it as it is in the gray background with the light, but again, you can use whatever fabric thread combination. My daughter gifted me for Christmas some linens. And I wasn't sure what to put on them. So she gifted me Fiber on a Whim 36 count jalapeno. So that would be the background, maybe with like 3/799. But what I'm really leaning toward is this one. This one is 40 count, it's by Weeks Dye Works, 40 count Havana. And it is a beautiful color of linen. Kind of a coppery brown. And I have used Havana specifically on Ann Morrison by Hands On Design, or sorry, Hands Across the Sea. This was the exclusive through Canadian shop, Traditional Stitches. It was a stitch along, and I did meet the deadline on the stitch along, I think I did, but I stitched this in 2022, so last year I finished it up, and I used the 103 silks, and this is 40 count Havana. So when my daughter gave me 40 count Havana, and then this design, I'm thinking the 40 count Havana with this light blue, which is 103 of Verswa 100.3, number 002 silk. And it just sings on this Havana. It's not quite the right color. On the camera, it's kind of washing it out. See if I can get it. Over in here is closer. This F is closer. But I already have that. I'd probably have to get one more spool. But I think that would look really nice for this lace. And some of the detail here, especially around these letters, it does look lacy on this fabric. So I'm leaning toward that for this pattern. It's a beautiful pattern. And it's a fat quarter that I have for my daughter, so I'm thinking that would look really good. So that's what I, there's one more thing that hasn't come in yet from Market, so I'll probably pick that up. I have an opportunity to go stitching every other Saturday at Stitchville. There's no charge. Just call and reserve a spot if you're in the area. And you bring your own food and snacks and that kind of stuff, but you get a few hours and it's fun to get back into that, because we were doing that before all of the lockdown stuff. And of all the yuck that came out of COVID, one of the cool things is to see people get interested in handcrafts again, and all the designers that we have and fabric, and that is really, really cool to see, kind of the silver lining in all the mess. But last week, my aunt passed away from pancreatic cancer. She was diagnosed in January, and she passed away on my anniversary, March 14th. 31 years my husband and I have been married. We've been together for 32. I'm thinking of stitching something in her memory, and she's one of the sweetest people to walk the face of the earth. She really, really, really was. Very, very sweet woman. I was not able to go to the funeral. One, I had this nasty cold and I didn't want to pass it on, and I had to go to a doctor's appointment with my husband, and just everything ended up on the same day. So I wasn't able to travel there, and where the funeral was is almost 600 miles from here, one way. So it's not an easy jaunt. And I knew, thinking a piece to stitch, I knew that Glendon Place had a few pieces. And so I was looking at her website, and the one I'm looking at is Rosacea. I'll link it below. It's one of her medallions, and it is beautiful. And my aunt did like to garden. Let's see if I can find it here real quick. She did like to garden, and I'm thinking that I would change it to personalize it. Okay, where's your little search button? There it is. So it's Rosaceae is how you spell it. And does anybody else have the music going in their head? And here is the piece. Oops, let me turn my brightness down so it's easier for you to see. Okay, so it's easier to see. It's this one. It's just under 200 stitches by 200 stitches. And I'm thinking if I would remove this rose and put her name there, that it would really, really look nice. And these open areas, there are some little stems, and there's some little gold lines. There's one type of bead on this particular one. Okay. Did it go back to normal brightness? It might have gone back to normal brightness. There's only one bead on here, and it's just a simple white bead. It is charted for dinky dyes, but she also gives you Sullivan's, which Stitchville does not carry to my knowledge. DMC Stitchville does carry, and Anchor Stitchville does carry, and Stitchville, my LNS, does carry dinky dyes. I'm toying with the idea, first of all, of stitching this on 40 count, so then the called for beads would not fit. But there's only one color, so I could do maybe a metallic there, or find a substitute fiber. And it calls for regular size 11 beads, so I'm wondering if they're a Mill Hill Magnifica, really small bead. Those might fit on 40 count. I've never tried them on 40 count, so I would have to experiment a little bit. And I'm thinking 40 count with the Anchor is what I'm thinking. But I was on the website, and I downloaded this from her website. It's called Hope and Strength. It had to deal with the pandemic and the lockdowns and all the stuff we've all been dealing with the last couple of years. This is free from her website. I do not have a color printer, so maybe I can show you on her website what it looks like. But you can go and you can download it and print it off. It's called Hope and Strength. No. For some reason it's not pulling up the picture for me. But Sometimes it doesn't do that on my phone for some reason. And if you could hear, my son is still coughing, so we are still dealing with this. Can I just say, if you or your children are involved in some kind of activity where other people are actually physically in the room and you get a cold, will you stay home? It just annoys me. Oh no, I can't get it. I'm sorry. I'll link it below though. It just annoys me. Every year we get involved in something and then somebody else is like, oh yeah, my kid was sick, but I just gave him Tylenol and now he's fine. It's like, we have a large family. So a 24, 48, 72-hour bug takes forever to go through our family. So we have not been able to go to church. We've not been able to go, the kids haven't been able to go to Awana or youth group because we're the largest family in church. And guess who's going to get blamed? So let's be adults and be parents. And your kids need the rest. That's the best thing you can do when they're sick, is give them an opportunity to rest. And I remember when my kids were in Taekwondo and people go, well, I paid for lessons. And I'm sitting there going, and I didn't. I did too. And it's just frustrating. And then being Minnesota, the way Minnesota is, yesterday was supposedly the first day of spring. It was 50 degrees. Today, clouds, no snow. But April is one of the 6 months of winter. November, March, and April are our snowiest months. Thankfully, it doesn't last very long in March and April, but yeah. So then we have that too, because you're kind of, spring teases you and then you get your own cold. So just think of others. I go through this every year. And I had to deal with something this week where, oh, well, that's not fair. I'm like, you're an adult. If you can handle it, then don't be involved. And so I had a call and they're like, well, you shouldn't do that. Yeah, I'm gonna, because I'm tired of this. And hold people accountable. I don't know why we're scared of holding people accountable. There's reason to hold people accountable. But anyway, I'm off my soapbox. So, quilting wise, I'm still working on this guy, and I've got a couple of little things to do. Oh, if you follow me on social media, you probably saw that I hung a quilt. I hung the wintry quilt. Well, one of the things I have to do is I have to swap it out because we're supposed to be in spring. So one of the things I have to do is hang a new quilt, and to do that I have to put a sleeve on the back. So this is the quilt I will be hanging. I made this for my husband. It is by Judy Martin. It is called, it's from one of her log cabin books, and I'll link it below, or at least I'll reference it below. It's called Minnesota. My husband's born and raised Minnesota. And the fabric, every year they have Quilt Minnesota, so they have Minnesota-inspired fabric. I don't remember what year this fabric was from. I can't remember. So the fabric is Minnesota. So you get like lady slipper, which is the state flower, and you get the red pine, which is the state tree, and you get deer and animals and leaves and kind of the outdoorsy. My husband doesn't use this quilt. So I'm like, fine, it's going on my wall. So I have to put a sleeve across the top here. So I have a curtain rod that'll go through, and this will hang on my wall. So that is on the docket for today. My husband has a shooting event, so I've got some time to get it done. Aside from that, quilting's been a hit or miss. I've been more inspired to sew, and for April, just recalled the numbers today for Whip Go, 10 days on a sampler and 10 days on a new start. So I'm going to probably combine those two categories. I have to look through what I have kitted. I have a variety of things kitted, and we'll see what I pick. But hopefully I'll be back the beginning of part of April. Yeah, and hopefully we can get this cold gone, all the things. But I will, yeah, I'll come back when I can come back. What else is there to do? But to say thank you for subscribing and following me. And I know a number of you have followed me for a very long time, and I thank you. And you can follow me on Instagram, mondotstitches, my email, mondotstitches@gmail.com. And yeah, we'll talk to you when we talk to you. Love to you all.